Welcome in everyone. In today's video we're going to be teaching you about the basics for the Forever Winter, which is a brand new co-op tactical survival horror extract shooter. In the Forever Winter, you play as a lowly scavenger trying to survive amidst an ever-raging war on the remnants of planet Earth. Your main goal is to keep your home base, the Innards, running by supplying it with water, which you find on your scavenging missions to the surface. On the surface, there are constant gunfights breaking out between the numerous factions in the game. The game puts a heavy emphasis on avoiding these gunfights and instead looking for moments of opportunity to slip past these battles to either scavenge resources from fallen enemies, make your way to quest objectives and loot locations, or get to extract and secure your loot. To put it into blunt terms, you'll be ratting around a lot in this game, at least at the very beginning, as you definitely don't stand a chance against the walker that looks like it's straight out of Armored Core that's capable of using a tank as a baseball bat. However, this doesn't mean you'll be avoiding fighting entirely, as sometimes you'll find an opportunity to take down the last stragglers of a battle or simply have no other option, whether it be for a life or death situation or in order to secure some quest item. Personally, I found that after about an hour or so of playing this game, I reached a point where I could judge whether I'm able to start and handle a fight instead of just running away from everything. Just remember to be smart about your engagements, as the game puts it extremely well. Every shot you fire is just ringing a dinner bell, so make it worthwhile. Now let's move into the actual mechanics of the game, starting with your main hub, the Innards. This is where your traders, character stash, and etc. are located. Your main goal in the game is to supply water to this little safe haven, which will attract other survivors that will help you in some way or another. They may offer trade goods, unlock new game features, or join you on your scavenging runs as a backup gun. There is a water remaining timer that you are racing against, which currently counts down in real time, both when the game is on and when the game is off. If this timer hits 0, your stash is wiped, and I believe everything is lost except for your character roster's experience. As this game is early access, hopefully this mechanic changes, as it does put extreme pressure on people who aren't able to play the game every day. Majority of the hub features are unlocked based on how many days worth of water you have in your base, such as base upgrades like the ammo crafter requiring 20 days of water stockpiled in your base. You can add water to your base's reserves from this little station, which is exactly where the tutorial has you drop off your first can of water. Another location to note in your hub is this little donation station where you may randomly find gear donated by other players, as well as donate any of your spare gear for other players. Anyone who joins your lobby can access this donation station and can add or remove gear as they want. The NPCs that move into your hub will offer you quests, which helps you progress in the game. These quests vary in objective, ranging from simply extracting from an area to bringing back specific items from specific enemies on the surface. These quests will reward you with money, items, and reputation with certain factions. As you increase your faction's reputations, their respective traders will offer more and better goods to you. I highly recommend focusing on these quests, as your second quest will unlock a better rig, which we'll talk about more later, and your fourth or so quest will unlock new traders. And speaking of traders, the game has a handful of scav traders to start you off with that offer some basic necessities such as healing, weapons, and bullets. Some are even nice enough to offer you free bullets for your starter gun, as long as you remember to purchase them between stock resets. These traders will also buy any items you've scavenged from the surface for the right price. Next, we'll move on to one of the game's more interesting mechanics, the character classes. The Forever Winter gives you multiple characters to choose from, with each character having their own base stats, upgrade trees, and playstyle. For instance, Scav Girl has a lower HP but faster sprint speed than other characters, and her upgrade tree gives her access to better rigs. She's obviously more suited for stealthy gameplay. Meanwhile, Mask Man has average HP and speed, and his upgrade tree gives him access to heavy firepower guns. To select a character, simply highlight them from the Characters tab in your main menu and you're all set. You gain EXP for a character by successfully extracting from the surface, varying in amounts depending on what you've killed or looted. This EXP can be used to upgrade your character's various abilities, such as giving better gun accuracy, faster sprint speed, or more carry capacity. Once you've accumulated enough EXP on a character, you'll no longer gain EXP for them and can instead prestige your character, which resets your EXP and skills, increases that character's maximum EXP limit, and slightly increases the character's base stats, such as movement speed or health. You'll have to prestige your characters a few times if you want to get more expensive skill upgrades. We've covered the game's base mechanics, so let's get started on actual gameplay. As most other extract shooters, we need to prepare our loadout before we actually head out if we want any chance of survival. In the Combat Loadout tab, you can customize and equip your weapons, change your rig, and add items to your inventory such as bullets and meds. You start with a default surplus kit consisting of a shotgun and a rifle, which you'll respawn with should you die on the surface. You cannot unequip these weapons, but instead can change them out for bigger and better guns as you see fit. I'd recommend starting off by simply bringing a few healing syringes and a stack or two of surplus 545 bullets. Don't worry about using too many of these surplus rounds, as they're free from the trader Bunko, with the only limit being that you can only purchase 100 per reset, which is more than enough for your starting raids, as you won't be really shooting a whole lot. You can also customize your rig from this combat loadout screen, but as we're just starting off, we don't really have many customization options. However, I will elaborate a bit on how the rig works. Your rig directly affects what you can haul out of your raids, and by default consists of a backpack slot for small loot and a large loot slot for big items such as water and locked containers. Your rig has 9 total customization slots that you can use as you progress through the game and find more rig attachments. For example, your second quest unlocks you a gun runner rig, which allows you to start looting broken weapons from fallen enemies. Now that we're locked and loaded, select a region to deploy to from the region tab. Personally, I haven't explored most of these regions, but for the sake of our first quest, we'll go to the Scorched Enclave. Switch to the Ready Room tab where you can invite your friends and set out to the surface. I will note here that the game is currently extremely early access and as of day 1 has some issues with joining friend sessions. The best solution I've found to semi-reliably join your friends is for the person joining to fully quit the game and have the host send an invite to play. The person joining then accepts the invite to play, which will auto-launch the game and should load them into the host's lobby when you select play game from the menu. Now that we're finally into our first match, what do? Well, for our case, we're just trying to finish our first quest of Just Get Out Alive. Look at the compass on the top of your minimap for a little clock icon. That's your extract location, and your current priority number 1. Every map is dynamic in regards to where enemies are, what factions they're from, and where they're going to fight, and etc. So use your judgment to get around them and get home. Enemies will generally ignore you as long as you don't fire at them or get too close while they're not fighting. There's a little alert indicator meter that will fill up as an idle enemy begins to notice you, which will turn red when they're actively chasing you down. If you're noticed, don't hesitate to retreat to lose them if you're being overwhelmed. If you decide to stay and fight, just know that gunfire is extremely likely to attract more enemies, so make sure you're quick about leaving the area once the fight is done. Feel free to wait out any battles that occur and swoop in to loot the goodies, or even go as far as risking it for the bigger loot like water, ammo, meds, and more inside the enemy compound. Your inventory is slot and weight based, meaning you can only carry as many slots as your rig has, or up to a certain weight limit. As a little tip for making it this far into the video, there's a tiny bunker that I'll show on screen that has some nice goodies inside. The only issue is that you'll have to play a little cracking minigame to get into it, which actually isn't too hard. All you need to do is select the top icons in order, which have been slightly distorted. Once you're at your extract point, interact with the extract location to activate a 60-second timer, which when finished will allow you to extract from the map. Do be careful though, because as of now, when you activate the extract timer, enemies will spawn and flock to your extract location. Simply run away and avoid them until the timer is done, then sneak back to your extract location to make a quick getaway. If the enemies are sitting on your extract, fire off some shots at them from a distance away to pull them in that direction, then wrap around to extract safely. And just like that, you've survived your first trip to the surface. Well, probably not your first trip to the surface, but you'll get there eventually. Now that you're home, offload and sell your loot, turn in your quests, refill your water, and kit out for the next run. But that is basically it for the core loop of Forever Winter's gameplay. As you progress through the game, you'll unlock bigger and better things, and potentially will reach a point where you're no longer a harmless little scav skirting around the battlefield. Hope you found this video helpful, and good luck surviving out there.